Foundations. The first time Vivian Rodriguez met Nathan Blackwood, he was hunched over a laptop at the corner table of Brew Point Cafe, his third coffee gone cold beside a stack of rejection letters. She noticed him only because they'd both reached for the last blueberry muffin at the same time. His tired smile and the dark circles under his eyes spoke of persistence despite obvious defeat. "You look like you need this more than I do," Vivian said, sliding the muffin toward him. "Thanks, but I need a miracle more than a muffin," Nathan replied with a hollow laugh. Perhaps it was fate, or simply her inability to walk away from a challenge. But Vivian sat down. "I'm a pretty good listener if you need one." 4 hours later, they were still talking. Nathan's digital marketing startup had been rejected by 7 potential investors. His business plan was solid, but his presentation lacked the spark that would make investors believe in him. Vivian, with her background in communications and natural talent for storytelling, saw the potential immediately. "You're selling yourself short," she told him, reworking his pitch deck on a napkin. "These graphs are impressive, but they don't tell a story. People invest in stories, not just numbers." That night, Vivian helped Nathan restructure his entire approach. She didn't just edit his words. She transformed his vision into something investors could feel emotionally connected to. 2 weeks later, Nathan secured his first round of funding. Their romance blossomed alongside Nathan's business. Vivian's apartment became their unofficial headquarters, her dining table covered with marketing strategies and client proposals. By day, she worked as a communications specialist at a nonprofit. By night, she was Nathan's strategist, editor, and biggest supporter. "I couldn't do this without you," Nathan would say, kissing her forehead as they worked into the early hours. "Once Black Edge Marketing takes off, we'll build something amazing together." Vivian believed him. She postponed her own dreams of starting a creative consultancy, reasoning that supporting Nathan now meant they would both succeed later. When Black Edge landed its first major client, Vivian was the one who crafted the campaign that exceeded expectations. When Nathan struggled with team management as the company grew, it was Vivian who helped him develop leadership skills. Even organizing workshops, she researched and designed herself. Their third anniversary coincided with Black Edge's expansion into new offices. Nathan surprised Vivian with a key to the building. "I want you to feel at home there," he said. "After all, half of this success is yours." Vivian smiled, touched by the gesture, though a small voice inside wondered why he hadn't offered her an official position instead. She dismissed the thought as ungrateful. They were partners in life. The business was just a vessel for their shared future. When Black Edge faced a crisis with a difficult client, Vivian took a week off from her job to help Nathan navigate the situation. She revised contracts, developed new creative directions, and coached Nathan through tough negotiations. The client not only stayed but doubled their investment. "You're incredible," Nathan's business partner Thomas told Vivian at their celebration dinner. "Have you ever thought about consulting professionally? You have a gift." Before Vivian could answer, Nathan laughed. "She's too busy keeping me on track. Besides, she loves her nonprofit work." Vivian smiled politely, though something in her chest tightened. When had Nathan last asked what she loved? When had he last inquired about her dreams? Still, as Black Edge approached its 4th year, Vivian remained Nathan's most trusted advisor. She edited his speeches, reviewed his strategies, and even helped him hire key team members. Her own career advanced modestly, but she measured her success through Nathan's achievements, believing in the partnership he had promised. Little did she know that foundation was about to be tested in ways neither of them could anticipate. The Invisible Hand. The invitation arrived on embossed cardstock with gold lettering. Black Edge Marketing celebrates 5 years of innovation. Vivian traced her fingers over the elegant font, a smile playing on her lips. 5 years of late nights, strategic planning, and unwavering support had culminated in this moment. Black Edge had just secured a partnership with Meridian Global, a Fortune 500 company that would catapult Nathan's business into a new echelon of success. "Do you think the burgundy dress or the black one?" Vivian asked, holding both options against her body as Nathan rushed around their apartment gathering his materials for a pre-event meeting. "Oh, either is fine," he replied without looking up from his phone. "Listen, I need to head out early." Thomas arranged a meet and greet with the Meridian executives before the main event. "Can you make your own way there? The team needs me to go over some talking points." Vivian nodded, swallowing her disappointment. She had hoped they would arrive together, a united front celebrating their shared achievement. But this was business, she reminded herself. Nathan needed to make the right impression. The venue was transformed into a sleek showcase of Black Edge's brand identity, a concept Vivian had developed during their second year when Nathan struggled to differentiate his company from competitors. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over networking executives in tailored suits. Vivian arrived alone, her burgundy dress elegant against the sea of black and navy. She spotted Nathan immediately, holding court in the center of the room, surrounded by admirers. His confident gestures and easy laugh were a far cry from the dejected man she'd met at Brew Point Cafe. Pride swelled in her chest, momentarily overshadowing the growing distance between them. "There she is," Thomas approached, champagne flute in hand. "The woman who makes the magic happen behind the scenes." "Tonight is Nathan's moment," Vivian deflected. "He's worked incredibly hard for this." Thomas gave her a curious look. "You both have. I still remember when you rescued the Jenkins account last year. That strategy you developed is now our blueprint for crisis management." Before Vivian could respond, Nathan appeared, his arm around an elegant woman in a designer suit. "Vivian, there you are." He smiled, but his eyes were already moving past her to scan the room. "This is Eleanor Worthington, CMO of Meridian Global." "Eleanor, this is Vivian, my—" He hesitated almost imperceptibly. "My girlfriend. Lovely to meet you." Eleanor extended a manicured hand. "What do you do, Vivian?" "I work in communications at—" Vivian began. "Vivian's brilliant with non-profit work," Nathan interjected. "Eleanor, have you met our creative director?" "He's the mastermind behind the campaign we discussed." With that, Nathan guided Eleanor away, leaving Vivian mid-sentence. The dismissal stung, not just because he had interrupted her, but because he had reduced her professional identity to a vague reference while completely erasing her contributions to Black Edge. Throughout the evening, Vivian watched Nathan move from group to group, telling the story of Black Edge's rise. Each time, the narrative shifted slightly. The crisis management strategy became something we developed internally. The pitch that won Meridian's business was credited to our exceptional team. Vivian's name was never mentioned. At the dinner, she was seated not at Nathan's table with the executives, but at a peripheral one with the partners of other team members. The distance felt symbolic. "To the future of Black Edge," Nathan raised his glass during his speech, "and to all who believed in us from the beginning." His eyes swept the room but didn't linger on Vivian. Later, as executives mingled over dessert, Vivian found herself beside Eleanor Worthington again. "Nathan tells me you've been together since before Black Edge," Eleanor commented. "You must be proud of what he's built." Something shifted inside Vivian. "What we've built," she corrected gently. "I actually developed the communications framework that initially attracted Meridian to Black Edge." Eleanor's eyebrows raised with interest. "Really? Nathan mentioned that was Thomas's work." She studied Vivian with newfound curiosity. "Tell me more about your background." For the first time that evening, Vivian spoke openly about her expertise, her vision, and the countless contributions she had made to Black Edge's success. Eleanor listened intently, occasionally nodding with professional appreciation. "You should have a card," Eleanor said finally. "Meridian's always looking for strategic consultants with your skill set." "I don't actually work for Black Edge," Vivian admitted. "Officially, I mean." Eleanor's expression was unreadable. What a curious arrangement. She reached into her purse and handed Vivian a business card. "Perhaps we should talk sometime, regardless." The card felt heavy in Vivian's hand as she watched Nathan across the room, basking in a claim he had not earned alone. For 5 years, she had been the invisible hand shaping Black Edge's success, content to remain in the shadows while Nathan stepped into the spotlight. As the evening wound down, Vivian stood by the entrance waiting for Nathan. He approached with Thomas and two investors, deep in conversation about expansion plans. "We're heading to Skylark for drinks and to continue the discussion," Nathan told her, already checking his watch. "Don't wait up. It might be a late one." In that moment, looking at the man she had helped create, Vivian realized she had become nothing more than an afterthought in the narrative of their shared success. The foundation they had built together was crumbling beneath her, and Nathan hadn't even noticed. She nodded, summoning a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Congratulations, Nathan. You got everything you wanted." Eleanor Worthington's card seemed to burn in her clutch as Vivian stepped out into the cool night air alone, her mind already turning toward a new possibility, one where she finally stepped out of the shadows and into a spotlight of her own making. Silent awakening, Eleanor Worthington's business card sat on Vivian's desk for 3 days before she gathered the courage to call. During those 3 days, Nathan had been practically living at the office, returning home only to shower and change clothes before diving back into the Meridian project. When Vivian mentioned possibly taking on some consulting work of her own, he had nodded absently. "That's great, babe," he'd said, scrolling through emails on his phone. "Just don't let it interfere with your job. You know how important stability is right now while we're expanding." The word echoed in Vivian's mind as she finally dialed Eleanor's number. There was no "we" in Black Edge's success anymore, only Nathan's ambition and Vivian's diminishing sense of self. Eleanor answered on the second ring. "I was hoping you'd call," she said without preamble. "Are you free for coffee tomorrow? There's someone I'd like you to meet." The someone turned out to be Jackson Reed, founder of Prism Collective, a creative agency specializing in brand development for emerging companies. Meeting at an artsy cafe far from Black Edge's offices, Jackson cut an impressive figure with his silver-streaked hair and keen eyes that missed nothing. "Eleanor tells me you're the secret weapon behind Black Edge's meteoric rise," Jackson said, studying Vivian over his espresso. "I've been following their work for years. The Jenkins crisis pivot was particularly brilliant. Not many agencies could have turned that potential disaster into a brand-strengthening opportunity." Vivian felt a flush of pride mixed with discomfort. "I contributed to that strategy, yes." "Contributed?" Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "From what I gathered during our conversation, you architected the entire approach. Why aren't you credited in any of the case studies?" Jackson asked directly. The question hung in the air, forcing Vivian to confront a truth she had been avoiding. "I'm not officially part of the company. I've been working behind the scenes as support. Unpaid consultant is the term, I believe," Eleanor said dryly. "Vivian, do you know what your market value would be as an independent strategist with your track record?" When Eleanor named a figure, Vivian nearly choked on her tea. "We're not meeting just to flatter you," Jackson leaned forward. "Prism is launching an incubator program for female entrepreneurs in strategic communications. 6 months of mentorship, office space, and seed funding. After seeing what you did with the Meridian pitch, yes, I know that was your work, not Thomas's. I want you to consider applying." Vivian's mind raced. "I don't have a formal portfolio." "But you have case studies walking around calling themselves Black Edge successes," Eleanor pointed out. "Document what you've done. Own your contributions." That evening, Vivian stayed late at her nonprofit job, using the quiet office to begin cataloging her work. Each campaign strategy, crisis management plan, and innovative pitch she had developed for Nathan emerged as testament to her expertise. Looking at the impressive body of work through objective eyes, Vivian felt a new emotion taking root, not resentment toward Nathan, but disappointment in herself for remaining invisible for so long. When she finally returned home, Nathan was packing an overnight bag. "Emergency meeting in Boston," he explained. "The Meridian team wants to restructure the deliverables. I'll be gone for 2 days. Can you look over the presentation I left on the desk? Something doesn't feel right about the narrative flow." Vivian stood in the doorway, watching the man she had helped build rush around their shared space, completely unaware of her shifting reality. "Actually, I can't. I have my own deadline to meet." Nathan paused, blinking in surprise. "But this is critical. The whole deal could fall apart without your touch." My touch, Vivian repeated softly. Funny how my touch is essential behind closed doors but disappears completely in boardrooms and at celebration parties. What are you talking about? Is this about the other night? I was networking, Viv. It's business. So is this, she replied, holding up the application for Prism's incubator program. My business. For the first time in months, she had Nathan's full attention. You're starting a company? Since when? Since I realized I've been running one for years, just under your name. The hurt and confusion on Nathan's face might have weakened her resolve before, but Vivian felt a strange calm. This wasn't about punishing Nathan. It was about reclaiming herself. While Nathan was in Boston, Vivian met with a lawyer recommended by Jackson to discuss intellectual property rights. The conversation was sobering. While Nathan had legally presented the work as black edges, Vivian could document her creative process and establish clear ownership of future methodologies. Think of it as a clean break, the lawyer advised. What you create from this point forward is unquestionably yours. By the time Nathan returned, Vivian had submitted her application to Prism, given notice at her nonprofit job, and converted their spare bedroom into a home office. The speed of her transformation surprised even her. You're really doing this, Nathan said, standing in the doorway of her new workspace, watching her arrange reference books on a shelf. It wasn't a question. I am, Vivian confirmed. And I'm not doing it to compete with you, Nathan. I'm doing it because I finally understand my worth. I always understood your worth, he protested. Vivian turned to face him. No, you understood my value to you. There's a difference. As Nathan struggled to process this shift, Vivian's phone chimed with an email notification. Jackson Reed was requesting an interview for the incubator program next week. For the first time in years, Vivian felt a surge of excitement that had nothing to do with Nathan's success. The shadow she had lived in was receding, revealing a woman ready to step into her own spotlight, not in opposition to Nathan, but in alignment with her true self. Rising tides, the Prism Collective's incubator space hummed with creative energy. Sunlight streamed through industrial windows, illuminating whiteboard walls covered with flowcharts, marketing strategies, and inspirational quotes. 6 months after her acceptance into the program, Vivian stood before a group of mentors and fellow entrepreneurs, presenting the business model for Luminary Strategy Group, her boutique consultancy specializing in narrative-driven business development. Traditional marketing focuses on what companies want to say, Vivian explained, gesturing to her presentation slides. Luminary helps clients discover what they need to hear, from their customers, their market, and most importantly, from themselves. Authentic storytelling isn't manufactured. It's excavated from truth. The concept wasn't revolutionary, but Vivian's approach was. By combining data analytics with psychological principles of narrative structure, she had created a methodology that transformed how companies understood their place in the market. Her first 3 clients, all referrals from Eleanor Worthington, had seen measurable results within weeks. Questions? Vivian asked, concluding her quarterly review presentation. Jackson Reed smiled from the back of the room. Just one. When are you hiring? Because you need to scale before your waiting list gets any longer. Later that afternoon, walking back to her apartment through the autumn-painted park, Vivian received a text from Eleanor. Meridian's CMO position opening up next quarter. Board already asking if you'd consider it. Formal offer to follow. Vivian paused on the pathway, watching leaves spiral down around her. 6 months ago, such an opportunity would have seemed impossible. Now it was just one of several paths opening before her. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a name she hadn't seen on her screen in weeks. Nathan, can we talk? Important Black Edge update. Curiosity more than sentiment prompted Vivian to agree to coffee the next morning. They arranged to meet at Brew Point Cafe, a choice that felt significant to them both. Nathan was already waiting when she arrived, 2 muffins on the table, 1 blueberry, 1 chocolate chip. A peace offering that acknowledged their history. You look different, he said as she sat down. The observation wasn't accusatory, just honest. I am different, Vivian replied simply. Nathan nodded, twisting his coffee cup nervously. Black Edge lost the Meridian account last week. They've decided to go with a smaller agency for their rebranding initiative. He paused, meeting her eyes directly. A new consultancy called Luminary Strategy Group. Vivian's breath caught. She'd known Eleanor was connecting her with potential clients at Meridian, but she hadn't anticipated winning the entire account away from Black Edge. I didn't pursue this, she said carefully. Eleanor mentioned some departments might be interested in my approach, but I had no idea they were considering pulling their business from you. I know. Nathan's response surprised her. I talked to Eleanor myself. She made it clear this wasn't about personal connections. Meridian simply preferred your strategy. They showed me your proposal. A rueful smile crossed his face. It was brilliant, Viv. The kind of work we used to do together before I started believing my own press. The acknowledgement hung between them. More meaningful than any apology. Black Edge is struggling, Nathan continued, vulnerability replacing his usual confidence. Not just financially, creatively. The team keeps trying to recreate what we had before, but something's missing. He looked down at his hands. I'm missing your perspective. Your insight. Nathan, Vivian began, sensing where this was heading. I'm not asking you to come back, he interrupted. I'm asking if Luminary would consider taking Black Edge on as a client. We need the kind of transformation you're providing for others. I'm willing to pay your full rate, whatever it is. The irony wasn't lost on Vivian. The man who had once absorbed her talent without recognition was now prepared to pay premium rates for the same expertise. I'll need to think about it, she said honestly. There's a lot of history there. It might be difficult to establish professional boundaries. Nathan nodded. I understand. But for what it's worth, I've done a lot of thinking these past months. About us. About Black Edge. About how much I took for granted. He hesitated. Thomas left last month. Took 3 of our best creatives with him to start their own shop. I'm sorry to hear that, Vivian said, genuinely surprised. Don't be. It forced me to face some hard truths. Black Edge was never just my vision, it was ours. I just didn't have the wisdom to see it. Nathan pushed the blueberry muffin toward her. Whatever you decide about the business, I owe you an apology for how things ended personally. I got caught up in an image I thought I needed to project, and I lost sight of who was really in my corner. As they parted ways, Vivian felt a complex mixture of emotions. Vindication, yes, but also a surprising absence of resentment. Success had changed her in ways she hadn't anticipated, not hardening her, as she might have expected, but clarifying her purpose. Back at her office, Vivian found Jackson reviewing applications for the next incubator cohort. You'll never guess who wants to become a Luminary client, Vivian said. Setting her bag down, Jackson raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. Black Edge is feeling the Vivian-shaped hole in their strategy? How did you know? Because true talent always surfaces, Jackson replied. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Vivian gazed out at the city skyline, considering her options. Taking on Black Edge would be complicated, emotionally and professionally. Yet part of her business philosophy was helping clients rediscover their authentic narrative. Perhaps Black Edge needed that more than most. Her phone chimed with another message, an invitation to speak at a major industry conference. The subject line read, From Shadow to Spotlight, Women Redefining Business Strategy. Looking from the email to the Black Edge proposal on her desk, Vivian realized she was no longer defined by her past relationship with Nathan or his company. Whatever decision she made would be from a position of strength. Her strength, built on foundations she had finally claimed as her own. Full circle 1 year to the day after Vivian left Black Edge's celebration party alone, she stood at a podium addressing the Women in Strategic Leadership Summit. The ballroom was filled with executives, entrepreneurs, and students eager to hear. From the founder of Luminary Strategy Group, now an 8-person boutique agency with a prestigious client list and a 6-month waiting period for new accounts. Success isn't just about being seen, Vivian told the rapt audience. It's about seeing yourself clearly first, understanding your value, your vision, and your voice, even when others don't yet recognize them. From her position on stage, Vivian spotted Eleanor Worthington in the front row, nodding approvingly. Beside her sat Jackson Reed, who had become both mentor and friend over the past 18 months. And in the back, leaning against the wall with a thoughtful expression, was Nathan. His presence wasn't a surprise. Black Edge had become one of Luminary's most successful client transformations, a case study Vivian often referenced in her talks. What had begun as a professional courtesy had evolved into a genuine business relationship, with clear boundaries and mutual respect replacing their complicated personal history. After her speech, Vivian moved through the networking reception, accepting congratulations and exchanging business cards. When she finally reached Nathan, he handed her a small gift bag. "Congratulations on the Visionary Impact Award," he said. "Well deserved." Inside the bag was a framed photo, the original Black Edge business plan sketched on a Brew Point Cafe napkin preserved behind glass. Vivian recognized her handwriting interwoven with Nathan's, their collaborative vision captured in that fragile paper square. "I found this when we were moving offices," Nathan explained. "Thought you should have it. After all, Black Edge wouldn't exist without what you wrote that day." The gesture struck Vivian deeply, not because she needed validation from Nathan anymore, but because it represented a full acknowledgement of their shared history, both the pain and the creation. "How's the new office?" she asked. Under Luminary's guidance, Black Edge had downsized and refocused, abandoning the flashy expansion plans that had driven Nathan before. "Smaller, smarter, more profitable," Nathan smiled. "Turns out bigger isn't always better. Your team helped us rediscover our core strengths. That's what Luminary does," Vivian replied. "We help companies find their authentic story, and you found yours," Nathan observed. "I watch your interviews, you know. Read your articles. You've built something remarkable, Viv." Before Vivian could respond, Jackson appeared at her elbow. "Sorry to interrupt, but your potential investors are eager to discuss the expansion plans." He nodded politely to Nathan before adding to Vivian, "The London office is generating significant interest already." Nathan's eyebrows raised. "London? You're going international?" "That's the plan," Vivian confirmed. "We're opening a European headquarters next quarter." As Jackson led her toward the waiting investors, Vivian glanced back at Nathan. There was no jealousy in his expression, only genuine admiration, perhaps the purest emotion that had passed between them in years. Later that evening, Vivian stood on the hotel balcony, gazing at the city lights while on a video call with her Luminary team. Their London representative, Zoe, was updating her on potential office spaces. "The Bloomsbury location has the best energy," Zoe explained, sharing photos on screen. "Good transit links, creative neighborhood, and room to grow." "It feels right," Vivian agreed. "Let's move forward." After ending the call, Vivian remained on the balcony, reflecting on the winding path that had led her here. The framed napkin from Nathan sat on the table beside her laptop, not as a reminder of what she had lost, but as evidence of what she had always possessed, the ability to envision success and make it reality. Her phone chimed with a text from Eleanor. "Heard about London. Meridian has 3 UK clients who need exactly what you provide. Dinner tomorrow to discuss?" Vivian smiled, typing her agreement. What had begun as a painful awakening had transformed into an expansive journey. She had moved from being the woman behind a man's success to the force behind her own empire. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. A hotel attendant delivered a package, an advance copy of Business Innovator magazine with Vivian's photo on the cover. The headline read, "Luminary's Vivian Rodriguez, Rewriting the Rules of Strategic Storytelling." Tracing her finger over the glossy image, Vivian felt a profound sense of completion. 5 years ago, she had poured her talent into building Nathan's dream, believing that supporting his spotlight would eventually create space for her own. Now she understood that true partnerships, whether business or personal, required mutual visibility and acknowledgement. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from Nathan. "Saw the magazine cover? Perfectly fitting. You always were the real story." Vivian didn't reply immediately. Their relationship had evolved into something neither of them could have predicted. Not a romantic reconciliation, but a redefined connection based on professional respect and shared history. Nathan had found his authentic path by recognizing his limitations. Vivian had discovered her power by embracing her strengths. The city below sparkled with possibility, much like the future stretching before her. Luminary's success wasn't built on resentment or revenge, but on Vivian's genuine talent for helping others discover their true narrative. In the process, she had claimed her own. Picking up her phone, Vivian finally responded to Nathan's text. "Every great story has multiple authors. Thank you for being part of mine." Setting the phone down, she turned back to her laptop and opened a new document titled Luminary London Strategic Vision. The cursor blinked expectantly on the blank page, no longer a shadow behind someone else's ambition, but the beginning of her next chapter, written entirely in her own voice.